Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal guide. The journey continues today on May 16th, 2023 at approximately 4:26 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact same philosophies I personally live my day-to-day life by. Now, before I get into things, we're just going to cover the basics to start with. Number one, we have Christine in with the gold. Emmy has come in with the silver, and Football Man comes in with the bronze. And I see we have where are we here? Just and Nathan comes in with honorable mention today. Now, I missed yesterday. For that, I will apologize. Unfortunately, my stress level trying to deal with Canadian EI did not go well, and I wasn't even home at the time. I was fighting with the government. With a little bit of luck, actually with a whole lot of luck, because I've been saying this for 3 weeks or more to the point they have been. With a little bit of luck, I will have my EI check before the end of this week, at which point my stress level around finances can be collapsed. Henry, how you doing? And we just had Joe wander through the door. Welcome aboard, Joe. Now, because I missed a day, I figure I better try and catch things up. So I figure I'm going to deal with both this neat little question of the do's and don'ts of well, I can't read that from here. Oh, the do's and don'ts of having explicit dreams. Okay, plus we are going to cover the secondary part of this. We'll be covering the ins and outs of the Ouija board and just exactly whether or not it is useful, whether or not it can be safe to use. Thank you so much, Sir Eternity. Glad you could join us. I lived through another year, and quite frankly, in this case, I finally decided today that once I get my EI sorted out, I'm immediately going to start pushing for early retirement. I've had it with trying to deal with government, with trying to deal with their, shall we say, complications. So it's just a question of getting a number of things moving in the right direction. So we're going to see how things go, and we'll do what I can. But no, I finally came to the conclusion that trying to put things into a workforce perspective just isn't going to work all that well. So where is my list of notes? Right there. Always try and keep one of these handy. That way I can get things organized in the right way and actually make some headway. Now, here's the first thing I want to touch on here, where it comes this whole idea of having explicit dreams. Okay, whether we are talking in the real world or in the dream world, okay, or any of the other various ways of looking at things. Karmic law holds dominant consideration. Okay, now, is there anything wrong with having a dream? If you're not lucid dreaming, the answer is no, you're not actually creating a problem because the dreams run of their own accord. In a nutshell, dreams are your subconscious's way of processing tension, anxiety, and insight. If you're just having dreams, then you don't have a big problem. Now, there are those of you who have learned how to lucid dream, which means you've got control over your dreams. Okay, or you're striving to control your dreams. Just fundamentally, I'm telling you it's a bad road to go down. because if you start doing that, first and foremost, the important information that a dream can bring you is all of a sudden gone. I voice the answer to your question is yes. Every cognitive race that I've ever met, there are some that have mental inconsistencies with the baseline thinking process. Do they have their own types of drugs? Yes. But I will tell you, much like human drugs, many of them are not as effective as people would like to think. Because, contrary to popular belief, corporeals cannot create medications that are more effective than what Mother Nature did, that are more effective than what has already been put in place. Okay. This is why I say, whether we are talking humans or we are talking other races, essentially you're all the same. Okay. And essentially you have to figure out how to work with things. Now, here's the kicker to dreams. Okay. If you have learned how to lucid dream, if you feel you've learned to control your dreams, then the moment you start having explicit dreams, if they're positive ones, there's no problem. But if you're having explicit ones where you're taking a violent or dominant control over somebody, you're setting yourself up for karmic backlash. Yeah, DD74, how you doing? Glad you could join us. A couple of things for those of you, because I notice we've got a couple of people that are coming into the area, into the chat room now. Couple of things very important. When you've got a question, as you can tell with iVoices up above a little, put your questions in all caps, please. That way I can find them. Now, this is not called yelling in my room. Okay, this is called waving your hand so that I can actually find them. Now, with that in mind, there's a couple of variations I've seen work. Just put my name in all caps to catch my attention, or that neat little emoji that somebody came up with. I forget who I saw it with first, where you just put the hand that's waving. Okay, this will help identify it as a question or a comment directed specifically at me. So that will be really, really helpful. Okay, football just going. And football dreamed of eating a meal out, and the guy next to me took money and credit card out of my purse. Now I got one itty bitty question on that one. The guy that took the money out of your purse. Okay, did you know who? Did you recognize them? Not necessarily by name, but did they have the feeling of familiarity to you? Okay, that's the one question that is kind of necessary to understand exactly what was going on. Okay, perfect. Thank you very now. That's why I call a quick response. Thank you so much, football. With that in mind, all it's telling you, okay, now when you have a dream like that, that is simply telling you be cautious with your own cards, with your own money, with your own belongings. What you're likely dealing with is too much stress in your world right now, and you've got to find a way to slow it down. Okay, that's all that is telling you. Okay, it's not that you're in danger of being, ripped off. It's simply a question of you're not necessarily focused on the here and now as much as you should be, or as much as would be beneficial anyway. Okay, but it's not a foretelling that you're going to get ripped off, only that you've got to center yourself a little more and really focus on the here and now. It's remarkable, really. I'm just looking at the chat room here, we're only 10 minutes in and we've already got 12 in the chat room. Now something I do have to say, and I've seen this throughout the evolution of this live stream, is the people in this live stream, there is often a lot of cross chatter going on. Now, in my world, that's a good thing, because what I see is you guys helping each other, which is absolutely necessary. Now, I do have to do something here. Where did it go? That. Nathan is actually the first one into the, well, one of the first, but the first one, the YouTube, I think, with a channel of their own. So if you guys would be kind enough, when you get a chance, drop in on Nathan's show, take a listen to what he has to say. If you like his messages, if you like his stream, give him a big thumbs up and absolutely subscribe to the channel for him. That would be really appreciated. Now with the reality of the way the world works, okay, dreams are still tied to karmic law. Okay, and this is another reason why watching what you're doing with if you're able to lucid dream, be very careful. Okay, I really strongly suggest you don't learn how. Okay, it's sort of one of those things that it's really neat to say I can do it, but it's kind of counterproductive. Putting that in perspective, in another venue, I was never trained. As a matter of fact, I was forbidden to learn the techniques of psychology or psychiatry. Okay, I was flat out told I wasn't permitted to. Okay, but what I have found, many psychics I found, okay, or many spiritual guides that have been trained to be in psychiatry and psychology, or in counseling for that matter, often override their own instincts. This is one of the reasons why, after I got looking at it, I went, I'm not learning all the ins and outs. I'm just not interested. And you're more than welcome there, Nathan. From my standpoint, it's a question of instinct. For me, has always worked better. Now, dreams themselves, the one thing I will tell you that is very important regarding all dreams, okay, as soon as you wake up in the morning, if you wake up and you remember dreaming, even if all you remember is that you were dreaming, write it down, the date and the time that you woke up, even if only in point form. For example, let's say you wake up and you remember running, and that's all you remember. Write it down immediately. Okay, that simple act of writing it down may be all that is required to trigger further memory. Okay, do not make the mistake of forcing it. Okay, like really let your mind go and really write down what you feel you're remembering, not what you're trying to fit in to make it make sense. All dreams do not have to make absolute sense. Okay, they really don't. Now I gotta check something here. That was a very quick jump. What do we got? Let us go up here. And we just hit refresh. Now, the nice part about it, and I do not want top chat, I've been told that often enough. Swap that to live chat. Swap that to live chat, and that should help immensely. Okay, I gotta say thank you so much again. You guys are really helpful. When I run into a problem, all I gotta do is ask, and somebody in the chat room pipes up with, here's how to deal with it. Now, if I could only get my marketing sorted out. But dreams themselves, there are other names for them. Okay. What do we got here? Just reading what you've written here, Henry. Henry's just written in, I recall a dream from several months ago, walking through the halls of my old high school and coming across a very good old friend who was bathed in light. I mean, he was glowing like an incandescent bulb, and I gave him a great big hug, and he was very warm. I hope he's doing all right. Now, unfortunately, can I give you a definitive answer to that? Not really. I don't have enough to work with, but I will tell you. Well, if he is enveloped in glowing light, the odds are, at least on a spiritual level, he's doing well. Okay, he's certainly on the right path for him. Now, this statement has nothing to do with whether or not, physically speaking, he's okay, because I got nothing functional to work with here. But dreams, there are a few ways of looking at dreams. Okay, your sleeping dreams where you wake up remembering it. Maybe it's more of a case of I've got a dream, I've got this goal of a huge empire, of a major project underway. Now, for me, this is where dream boards come in. Dream boards and the power of the list. Okay, I know that sounds a little wonky on occasion, but dreams are not only they don't only happen at night. They also happen when you're awake, when you've got a vision or you've got this goal that comes to life. Well, the nice part about it, the neat part there, Henry, is when you look at him being, whether he's a devout Christian or not, okay, in all fairness, when you see somebody bathed in that kind of light, you got to remember, people don't have to believe, and they don't have to believe in God, they don't have to believe in Christ for the above mentioned to look out for them. Not a problem, Henry. The nice, I'm glad you did share it. The important thing here in this room is I do desire it to become a very safe place where people are free to share things without ridicule. Now, I can't do anything about the judgment. Sorry, everybody in existence has judgment on what they hear. But they can certainly, and I absolutely stand by this side of it, if you've got something negative to say, don't. Okay. I mean, let's face it. People like Henry was kind enough to share this with us. And the reality of it is, whether you believe what somebody has said or not, we weren't there. Okay, at least we shouldn't have been there anyway. Adam, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, the nice part about it is dreams. Now, I look at dreams as you're either sleeping and you wake up with them, or perhaps you just get this idea in your head that you really desire to grant to build on. Okay. And with that in mind, having very clear, very poignant dreams is very useful in designing your own future. Now, this is why I say if you wake up with a dream, write down immediately what you recall. It will help you recall the rest of it. If it is simply a goal that you have or a vision you have while you're awake, write it down. If it catches your attention, start building on it. Okay. Neat part about it in my eyes is I figured out exactly what I'm planning on doing here. Okay. Now, as you know, I've been fighting with the Canadian government with the employment insurance agency, striving to get what they owe me into my pocket. Okay. And I'll tell you, it has been excessively stressful. Yesterday, I happened to be fighting with the government when I was supposed to be online. Okay. And that did wonders for my blood pressure. But that's why I didn't make it online yesterday. Today it was sort of a case of, okay, well, I've got the opportunity, so I'm going to be here. And when we combine what I'm dealing with the government, what I'm dealing with my youngest son's obligations as he gets things set up as he's becoming a full adult, and what I'm dealing with my eldest son as he is gearing his life forward. All of this is playing havoc with my schedule. Okay, and in all fairness, as far as my kids go, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Well, for the third week in a row, Christine, the government has told me we've got it straightened out. You should have a check before the end of the week. Now, do I hold a lot of weight behind that? Not in the slightest. You know, not in the slightest. The reason being, I keep getting told the same thing. So I'm just going forward with it. But here's what I've got going on now, just to put this in perspective. Okay, as soon as I've got the checks coming in for EI, okay, once I've got the checks coming in, then I will start really pushing the issue of going after my early retirement. Okay, because if you think about it, if I can get once I get EI moved around, early retirement, yes, will pay less than what waiting 10 years. I don't know if I'll be alive in 10 years, so I'm not waiting that long. Yeah, I kinda tried having another heart attack the other day, overrode it. You know, the medical facility wants me to get in touch with them again. I'm not bothering. Okay. Every time I talk to them, my stress level goes up. Doesn't do my heart any good. Okay. So I'm turning around now and going, I'm going to get this done. Okay. I had to get a few things done today. I had to get a few things dealt with today. Again, had to do with my eldest moving in here soon. Okay. But what I also took the time to do is I laid out and where did I put it here? I think it's on the back of this one. I laid out a profit sharing system for my company. Okay. Now my company right now has two people operating it. Myself and my executive assistant. Okay. But I've laid out the entire superstructure for when I have a number of people working for me. Now, here's the kicker to it. I'm looking for ways of bypassing a lot of the problems. Okay, the less I have to deal with, the happier I'm going to be. Okay. Now, the neat part is when I worked out the profit sharing side of it, I figured it out to the point of having having a company built properly, whereby I will be sharing up to start with, and as far as I can tell, I'm going to reassess the numbers here. Okay, but right now, before I get too far into this, right now, I've worked it out where it is solid profit sharing, where my company is still making money. Okay, but I could be sharing as much as 50% of my net profit. Okay, and I do mean literally the net. But that 50% marker will hit when I'm making, where did we work it out to here? What am I looking at here? I've worked it out that I can actually it comes up to 50% of my net profit when I am making $100 billion a month. Okay. Needless to say, I'm planning for way down the future. Okay, I'm setting it up so that when I do finally get around to calling it a day, I've still got the profit sharing in place where it is set up properly. Now, will I guarantee it'll run properly after I'm gone? No. But I've got that set up. I've already organized putting a newsletter together. Okay, and of course, the number of different books I'm working on. Races of the World. I've got all of the pictures done now. There's a few minor adjustments I've got to deal with. I'll be talking to my artist. I will be talking to my artist tomorrow to get that in order. Okay, but and I've already started the final edit on it, so there's still a little bit to be done, but we are getting down to the nitty gritty. On top of that, I've got believe in your business and believe in your finances and follow your dreams. Okay, that will be coming out within the next month or so as well because I've already got the backbone written. Now it's a self-help book. Okay, so it's coming out. The 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 advertising tracking for word of mouth, I've got that all laid out. So things are moving forward. Now, I'm going to come back to the other side of what I said we were going to look at. Okay. Where it comes to dreams, absolutely they are very useful. The more senses involved in a dream, the more efficient the dream will be able to convey the information to you. But let's be clear. Dreams are simply your subconscious's way of telling you what's going on that you may be overlooking. This is why remembering how to lucid dream may not be the wisest choice. Okay, it really boils down to let your dreams tell you what's going on. Do not make the mistake of telling your dreams what you desire to have going on. That kind of dreaming is where this comes in. Okay, this neat little sheet here. Now, as you can see, it's a bit chicken scratch, but well, it tells me right here what the breakdown is for the profit sharing. It tells me here what the overall structure is of the company. Okay, so I've got a lot going on I've even got worked out. I did the notes right here, which I realize you can't see this. These are the notes telling me exactly how, as I get an actual publishing company up and running where I can publish your guys' work, or anybody's for that matter, I've got a definitive formula of what it's going to cost. Okay, because rest assured, much as I love people that put businesses together to help people, I'm not about to make the mistake of doing it for free. Because here's why. What I have found with people is if they're getting things for free, the massive majority, first of all, don't appreciate it. Second of all, don't do anything with it. Okay, but with that in mind, okay, where is what I'm looking for? This funny little book here. Okay, this little book. Okay, I wrote this. As you can tell, it's really complicated. I wrote this because it is literally the backbone of how I put my life together. This is the first, there will be a series of 12. And my executive assistant came up with a brilliant idea. I will be putting these out as I go, as I can. Okay, so right now, I'm putting them out at $20 Canadian in your hand. Okay, but this is the backbone of how I did it. Now, am I going to put one of these books together regarding how to run a Ouija board? Not a snowball's prayer. Okay, a Ouija board, as much as it's a useful tool, once you know how to use it, it is not a toy. Okay, much like when you look at guns, when you look at explosives, they are not toys. Okay, but where did I put it? Right there. Yes, I still have this tendency of getting up to move. No, I haven't copied this one down solidly. Okay, as you can see, now I built my Ouija board a little differently. You may not be able to see that very well, which wouldn't be a shock. By the way, this design, not the writing on it, okay, but the way I split the circle into equal parts, this was done using a center point, a string, a straight edge, and a pencil. That's it. Okay. Will I eventually get around to building a Ouija board? Probably. It's just not high on my list. Hey, Crystal, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Sorry I missed yesterday, just life got in the way again. Well, death dang got there too. But when you're looking at a Ouija board, there's a couple of things you must remember. First and foremost, make certain that you always treat the potential visitors with respect. Okay, do not figure they have to talk to you, because the reality of it is, whoop, I will have to take a look at that. Oh no, I don't. That should be dealt with. Maybe. There, that solved my problem. That was my door. Now, where it comes to the Ouija board, you've got to remember, okay, that Ouija boards are a tool. You know, Ouija boards are a tool. They are not the be-all and end-all. Okay, but the people you're striving to contact may not desire to contact you, and striving to force it is an absolutely disastrous idea. So you always make certain. They absolutely do, football. You know, and football is just saying that spirits and dogmen require respect. They absolutely do. In all fairness, karmic law plays absolutely into this. Energy out, energy in. In other words, whatever you're putting out, that's what's coming back to you. Okay. Now remember, forcing somebody to talk to you. Have you ever tried forcing a child to talk to you? You know, you got to talk to me, and they yell at you, or they push and they push and they push. All it does is add stress to the whole situation. Now, that being said, it's great to look at. It's great to talk to them on occasion. I realize many people miss their loved ones once they pass away. Okay, be cautious of people claiming to be able to make contact. Okay, one of the obvious things, I call it obvious, one of the obvious discrepancies that you might run into is somebody says, "Oh, I can make contact with your loved one." And the first thing they start doing is is starting to pump you for information before they even start their work. Now, I will tell you, the one question that they have to ask, okay, is they require a name, whatever name you knew them by. Okay, if it's somebody you knew, we require, like, a true medium requires a name to work with. Doesn't have to be their legal name. It just has to be the name you knew them by. But be specific. Okay. Now, the reason I say be specific is, well, we'll get to that in a second, but they do require their name, preferably the age and last place you saw them. Okay. JCL, glad you could make it. We do require a way to identify who they are. Okay, a way being a name to call them by, and where and when was the last place that you remember seeing them. Okay, now this said, if you're looking for, if you're trying to make contact with a friend that's passed away, understand, on average, it seems to take about 3 to 4 years for somebody from the other side to figure out how to make contact. understand that's only roughly 5 minutes. You know, 5 minutes is approximately 4 years, by the way, as far as their time goes. So when you take a look at that, you've got to be respectful and reach out. There's nothing wrong with it. But when you're dealing with a Ouija board, okay, first rule of thumb, always, always say hello. Now, one person on their own quite often some people can run a Ouija board on their own, but it does have this neat little problem of you're left wondering whether or not you did it yourself. Okay, you've got that little issue that you're dealing with. Many times, 2 or 3 people pointing your hands gently on the planchard works like a charm. But you always say hello. Okay, ask questions as best you can that can be answered in a yes or no fashion. It's easier for them, it's easier for you. When you're done the questioning, do your best to keep it to 3 to 6 questions. I wouldn't put it any more than that, because you got to remember, it takes a lot of energy for the spirit to actually make contact. And when you're done, thank them for their time. Okay, be sure you thank them. And as a matter of fact, it wouldn't hurt to thank them when they make contact, but thank them for their time, and absolutely say goodbye, say farewell, say whatever it is that you do to end a conversation with most people. In my case, when I'm shutting down things with a spirit, I'm absolutely working with the idea of farewell. Farewell is a very old term that simply means until we meet again, take care of yourself. Hopefully things will go well for you. Okay, and that is one of the biggest things you got to remember is if you hammer the door open, in other words, you come through the door, you don't say hello, you don't ask for connection, you don't ask for any sort of polite interaction. Basically, you slam the door open and you go, give me information. I'll tell you, you may not get the information you're looking for. Okay, and it's the same with saying goodbye. By the way, if you pull the maneuver of slamming the door open, not saying hello, and pulling the door shut, not saying goodbye, and just walking away, you can bet your bottom dollar the spirits are going to remember your behavior to them. Raven, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Uh-oh, what is today? I am completely lost here, so I gotta look at this. Oh, right. I was going, am I supposed to be on a show today? I don't think so. But apparently not. So I'm just going to turn around over here, get that out of the way, and see what I've got going on here. 21st of June. I was just double checking because I know I'm coming on Raven's show next month. I was just making certain I hadn't lost time there. But when you're dealing with Ouija boards, what you're doing is you're picking up a telephone line. Now, people have said to you that entities can come through a Ouija board. They're not wrong. Okay, but this is why you hang up the phone. Okay, because a spirit will travel through a Ouija board. It's a little bit more complicated than going through a psychomantium. And no, I'm not going to show you how to use a psychomantium. That one's got way too many problems. So when you're dealing with that, understand a Ouija board is a lot of things, but a toy is not actually one of them. Now, it was neat. Well, You know, it was really neat. I went looking into it because somebody told me that Hasbro made it into a game. I'm like, no, it's been around a lot longer than that. But the Ouija board was designed a long time before Hasbro was even a thought process. Or for that matter, before a gaming company was a thought process. Unless we talk about Santa Claus. And I'm not doing that right now. You want to talk about Santa Claus? We wait till December. Okay. But when we're dealing with the Ouija board, it is a question of respect. Okay, hopefully this makes sense to you guys. Now, is it possible to make a bigger Ouija board than the one I've shown? The, the answer is absolutely yes. But there is a difference to the ones that are out there and what I'm working with. Okay, you'll notice, well, probably won't because this is really a lousy way to do this. But you'll notice I've got sigils around the outside as well. Okay, what I've got here is the zodiac signs around it. Okay, houses the whole 9 yards. The reason for the 12 pieces is because human corporeals work with a communication language. Spirits work with a different form of communication. Okay, and it really does require you understanding what that type of communication is before striving to utilize it. So I'm hoping that is making sense to people. And before anybody asks, can you buy a Ouija board from Hasbro, i.e. a one put together by a game company? Well, obviously you can. But I caution you, utilizing one without some sort of guidance is not a wise move. Absolutely, Joe. You know, it's funny, 70 was in extra. I thought it was in, maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought that The Exorcist came, as a matter of fact, I was certain it came out in 75. And now you've got me curious. But I can actually do this now. Ended The Exorcist, starring Linda Blair. Oh, okay. I thought it was 75, but apparently it was in 73. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just called up. It used to be a case of I couldn't look on the internet and find anything. Now I'm not doing too terribly bad. But according to this, it came out in 1973. The novel was written in 71. You know, well, that was interesting. But yeah, it was. Where are we here? Let's get back to what I was looking at. Yeah, Joe, you're right. Joe's just saying the Ouija board used in The Exorcist was used in a most violent way. It absolutely was. Now, don't kid yourself. It can be a very violent thing. The first time I played around with a Ouija board before I knew what it was. There were four of us actually with our hands on the planchard. The planchard came off the table and buried itself in a concrete wall. Okay. Now I'll tell you, it did create a problem because the other three that were with me, went screaming out of the room. Me being me, and this is what used to concern my father. I didn't fear it at all, so I went over to take a look at the wall and see how the heck it was pulled off. Um, Now I don't know much about the set, but I do know that the Ouija board, because of the way it was done, it certainly had spiritual activity. It had ghosts on board, because that kind of a movie almost invariably draws spirits. Now, here's the funny part: there is a similarity between that and the conversations that we have when we go on to a chat room where we're dealing with aliens and UFOs and ancient races. That too will draw people's attention from those genres, as it were. Okay, if you've got a gardening show, you draw people that are dealing with gardening or are interested in gardening. You'd put a horror movie out, especially built on the spiritual side of things. All of a sudden, you've got one heck of an audience. UFOs and what have you, we've got the same situation happening. Okay, so all in all, it can be rather interesting. Now, football's just asking, do spirits have specialized what? Do spirits have specialized powers like in the TV show Ghosts? Specialized, not exactly. To me, specialized means that they've got an ability the others don't have. Okay. Every ghost has the ability or has the potential ability to affect the material world. Sagittarius Dad, glad to see you and glad to have you here. Hope things are going well for you and that today's been treating you well. Spirits they've all got the capacity of reaching over from the other side to this side of the world. Now, to be clear, when we're dealing with ghosts and what have you, it's not that there are more sightings. It's that the internet has proven to be a very viable way of letting people know that this is going on. Same as the UFOs that people are seeing. It hasn't increased in frequency, not substantially, at least not as far as mankind is concerned. As far as those of us that can see what's going on upside, yeah, there's a lot more activity. But what's happening is people are paying more attention to it and are more and more open to reporting it. Now, here's the kicker to it. Even in the fields that we're talking about, there are many people working and claiming to work in these fields that will disavow other people's experience. Okay. Now, I'm not one to tell you whether you've gone through something or whether you haven't. I'm only here to help you understand what you may be dealing with. Okay. And I'll tell you, after 60 years of really 50 years of doing this publicly, I've got a bit of a database. Nice, Derek. Glad you could drop in while you're driving. It's funny. When I was first looking at putting this stream together, you guys that come from Spaced Out Radio were instrumental in getting me to open up and start doing a live feed. But I was never expecting this kind of a setup. Which is why I've taken to the idea that let's see what we can do about shifting thought processes for people and getting people thinking in terms of what we can have in a positive way, not what we're set to lose. I mean, there are billions of people that will sit there. Oh, nice. Just ask her not to go over every bump possible. Although if you're on an air mattress, that's not too bad. I remember back when I was a kid, some people would throw a water bed into the back of the van. Why? I have no idea. Personally, I got sick just by traveling, so there's no way I'd have ever gotten on a waterbed. But we literally have billions of people that sit there and listen to how the world's going to end, how you're going to lose everything and go to hell for all eternity. Tell you, hell is a real place. Okay, hot tubs are way too high, but what the heck? Joe's just saying there's actually 5 Exorcist movies in the franchise. But the first movie, An Exorcist 3, made in 1990, are the best. The third Exorcist movie is based on the Gemini killer. See, and there are a lot of really good movies out there. I don't personally watch horror movies. I did a long time ago. I did see the original Exorcist. Okay. I did see the original Exorcist. Really? That is absolutely amazing. I'm just looking at this. Nathan's just saying we got 17 in the chat right now, which to me is absolutely amazing, but I'm certainly not unhappy about it. And therefore, just a quick note. If you like the stream, guys, if you'd be kind enough to give us a thumbs up, apparently it has a direct impact on the algorithm that YouTube uses for bringing the videos up to the surface. Give us a thumbs up and turn around. And, absolutely, I do encourage you to subscribe to the stream. I do my best to be on usually every day except Thursday. But with what's been going on, it's been hit and miss a couple of times. But like I said, between fighting with the government, prepping my son for adulthood, and helping my other son move back into the house, into home, there has been way too many things going on. The biggest complication has frankly been the government. But do I watch a lot of the horror movies? No. I figure if I watch the real world, there's all kinds of horror going on. Just about missed that one there, football. I just glanced up at the screen. Like I said, the little screen I can't read on very well. But football is just asking, do pets visit us in dreams because they miss us? The answer to that is yes. Okay. Pets, like all people, most people remember, most people do remember their physical life, at least for a time. Okay. And quite often, pets, especially if they were well taken care of, will, unlike Pet Cemetery, that was another issue. But that does show you, many pets will come back in contact with you just simply to say, hey, thanks for caring for me. I'm okay. Henry, I wasn't kidding. When I said enough, I don't know how long ago it was, but when I first brought it up to Dave's attention that they are listening in on his radio, I wasn't kidding. Okay. There is no question they are. How they pull it off, I can explain how they do. Whether you can understand it or not is another issue altogether. But do they listen in on it? Certainly. Do understand, though, they also listen in on what the governments are planning. Okay. I mean, it's funny. Dave and I have had some really remarkable encounters, and he can tell you about them. I'm not going to. I believe that for him to open the door on. But when I said that the off-worlders are listening in on Dave's show, I wasn't kidding. Okay. Have they listened in on other shows and said, nope, this isn't working? The answer is, yeah, they have. Okay. It's kind of like, I mean, you got to remember, they have the capacity to tap in on our shows, but our technology will not reach them and will not interact with theirs. It's kind of like if you think of computers. You take a TSR-80, it is not going to be able to communicate with an i5. Okay, it's just not. They are not the same technology. I may get around to doing it. I know my other half likes horror movies. And that is really sad to hear there. Derek's just saying Dave's show last night was unbearable. Guests kept calling everyone in ufology field grifters and liars the whole time, nonstop. I will tell you this. I made a mistake years ago, and I've regretted it ever since. I don't even recall who it was, but I was asked to actually sort of try and make a joke about something. I'm not good at jokes, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and tell you guys that what you think you saw was wrong, okay, or that you're lying about it. This will not happen for me, okay. I will tell you, the one way to set me off is to tell me that I'm lying about something, or worse, that my opinion is wrong. Now, I will tell you, not a soul in existence can have a wrong opinion. They can certainly have an opinion that does not get along with you. Gets ticked off at them? No, I don't have a problem with skeptics. Has just said, I bet Keith and we're not going there, gets ticked off at alien skeptics. I don't mind skeptics. I mind closed-minded people. Okay, do understand, lack of proof of existence is not proof of non-existence. Yeah, Nathan's just saying Cambion has gone dark side. Seems he needs some sort of special counseling. I'm guessing Cambion was the guest. Now, to be fair, I was a little preoccupied. I didn't listen to anybody's show yesterday. There are just some topics that don't add up all that well. Some viewpoints that I won't agree with, and I do have my differences with some of the ufologists. Okay, no, I'm not going to get into names and what have you. Football's just asking, do facing mirrors create a portal? Do two facing mirrors create a portal? No, but they do create a heck of a whirlwind. See, a mirror will reflect back energy. And if you've got two mirrors facing each other, what you've got is one heck of a cross current. Now that cross current, that buildup of energy, if you know how to do it, can be used to amplify and create a portal, but it in and of itself will not do so. That doesn't help me a lot. You realize that. Derek's just going, the guy looks a lot like Adam Driver. I have no idea who Adam Driver is. You know, the neat part about it is mirrors are wonderful things. They're really useful. Okay. But what we have to realize is that when you're looking at that kind of behavior, if you're talking like when somebody comes in here and says, "This is what I dreamt about, this is what I remember," I will tell you this: one area that I will disagree with a lot of the time is there are so many people that I have talked to over the years that have gone, "I'm the reincarnation of, for instance, Leonardo da Vinci or Anne Frank." Okay, there can this and then line right out of Highlander. There can be only one. Okay. Oh, okay. Now that one, Derek, that helps a lot. Okay. I don't remember names well, but for some reason, you tell me a character in a movie, I can piece that one together pretty quick. Now, granted, it may not be what the guy looks like in person. Matter of fact, it likely isn't. But at least I've got a reference point. You know, but when you're talking, like when people come into this room, the one thing I absolutely would like to see happen is, as has been happening all along, you guys reach out and go, "Welcome aboard," and let's help the person feel at home. I know we've got newcomers in here. Okay. And like I'm looking at this right now. Okay, and we've got, I take a look at it, I've got 500, well, 506 unless it's grown. Let's just see if we can give real-time information here. When I take a look at it, we've got 506 subscribers, which mean right now we've got 17 in the chat room. I look at that and go, okay, not everybody has access to a chat room. Okay, many may be just listening to old videos and what have you. And that said, okay, we could be looking at as much as 2,000 different viewers, which is fantastic. I would love to, and I'm not kidding you, I would love to see this grow at this point. I finally got it straight in my own head that I would love to see it grow to the point of billions of people. Because the fact of the matter is, I returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Okay. Now, Raven's just saying, I read that walking between two mirrors facing each other will work at stopping a spirit from entering the house that is piggybacked on you. It can to a degree, but here's the reality. It depends on the individual. Picture, if you will, somebody hanging on to you loosely, like picture a spider, for instance, hanging on to the back of your shirt, and you walk through a wind tunnel. The odds are that spider is going to get going to get cast off. From that standpoint, yes, it can work, but is it a absolute guaranteed deterrent? No more so than what tinfoil hats are at stopping alien abductions. Although at least you're fashionable if you get taken while you've got a tinfoil hat on. Absolutely, and I could not have said that better. As anybody that knows me is aware, sports are not my strong suit. Let's face it, bad legs since 10, didn't get into a lot of running. Okay, but I think I missed something here. Or it just hasn't shown up. Oh, to ruin. Well, in all fairness, and I'm just reading, it hasn't shown up on the large feed there. Why did it do that? It's shifting gears on me. That's why I can't see it. Okay, now I see what's going on. I don't know how it does it, but what the heck. My stream literally shifted from live chat to top chat. That's where I'm missing some of the questions. iVoices, you've asked Keith what race of spirit comes through the Ouija board to ruin people's lives. None of them. Now, don't get me wrong; they do come through the Ouija board, but their intention is, on the whole, not to ruin people's lives. It's a question when somebody comes through the door or through that portal. What it is they miss being on this side, so they come through, and it's an effort to try and make contact. And humans, on the whole, much as they've got the capacity to work with 0 point energy, do not comprehend it well. The fact of the matter is, they are not, on the whole, the spirits that do end up coming through are not doing it with malice aforethought. More often than not, it's literally they get across, and now they can. This is where the problem is. If you open the door, if you open up a Ouija board without doing it in a proper fashion, what ends up happening is a spirit will come through because it's curious. It sees an open door and there it goes. Problem is, if you haven't closed the door, they can come through after you're gone and come through. Yeah. And I'm glad you figured out there, Nathan. See, the neat part about that, Nathan's just saying he figured out how to use what I call 0 point. He calls it his quantum link. And William Shakespeare put it absolutely perfectly. William Shakespeare turned around and said, "A rose by any other name would smell as sweet." Whether you call it 0 point energy, a quantum link, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it doesn't matter. Whatever label works for you. It's kind of like whether you call your higher power universe, God, Allah, Nataj, doesn't matter. Okay. Call it what you will, because it's a question of whether or not you can connect with it. Okay. Yeah. Nathan just goes, use the PBJ Luke. Yeah. Well, we have to, the fact is people can get too serious. And I'm a lousy one for it because, my son keeps telling me I don't have a sense of humor to work with. But when we are looking, and bear in mind, here's where things cross over between the two. You use the Ouija board without opening and closing it properly. Okay. What you end up with is you end up with an open doorway to let spirits in. Okay. And they can, depending on what the spirit is, they can bring about explicit dreams, because they can invade the dreamscape without any real big problem. I appreciate that, Christine. The sad reality of it is, I take a look at the way the world is. Oh, Sagittarius. Sagittarius just asked, when a Ouija calls someone a power child, what does that mean? What that likely is referring to is whoever the operator is on this side of the board has so much energy in them that they make it easier for the spirits to come through and to connect. Okay, Raven. First and foremost, when you go to to use a Ouija board, couple of very important factors. Number one, get clear in your own head that you're looking for positive entities. This idea of I just want to connect with someone, that's a bad thought line. You've got to get focused that you're looking for entities and for connections with spirits of the light. Not from the light, not in the light, but of the light. Okay. You get this in the head of every one of the people that are going to be working, that are going to be handling the planchard. Okay. Now, once you've got that in your head, then make contact with the planchard. Now, frankly, I don't know where my planchard is, Ray. I've got a Ouija board around here somewhere, other than the one I'm in the process of designing. But when you look at that, okay, you get it. The entities you're looking for, the spirits you're striving to connect with, are of the light. Then, when you put your hands on the planchard, the first thing you do is not. The first thing you don't do is go, I'm looking to talk to someone. First thing to do, say welcome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of day you're working with. But you absolutely want to greet them. Not tell them what you're looking for. Let them know you're there. Okay. And like I said, this is a question. This is a question of looking at it and going, welcome. I'm seeking to communicate with someone of the light. Okay, if you know the person's name, absolutely throw their name in there. Okay, but specify only those of the light are welcome. Okay, now when you feel, you start off with the hello. Okay, wait for a response. Okay, when the planchette moves to an hello, the first question you ask before you do anything, ask them very clearly, are you, welcome? Are you of the light? This will ensure, now, if they don't give you an answer that is a yes, okay, then you turn around and you go, if you are not, only those of the light are welcome. All others must return to whence they came. And yeah, unfortunately, I speak in Old English sometimes, or older English anyway. But once you've established they are of the light, ask them short, simple questions, but never ask them what somebody else is up to. Do not make the mistake. Do not make the mistake of, okay, drop that thought line. Do not make the mistake of striving to use a Ouija board as an eavesdropping tool. It will not end well for you. Well, I can't complain. I'm just sorry. I'm looking at this Sagittarius, and Sagittarius goes, a demon said to make a Ouija board from a tree struck by lightning. What's the significance? There's more, but I won't say the rest. That's not a problem. Number one, when you're dealing with a tree struck by lightning, you're dealing with a staggering amount of energy. The reason for making a board from that kind of wood, okay, the reason for making a board from that kind of wood is because it conducts the energy necessary to bridge the gap between the afterlife and this one. Okay, which is really a different vibratory rate. Sandra, how you doing? I'm glad you could join us. Okay, I'm betting dollars to donuts that the demon in question was trying to find a way to physically cross the board. Well, here's the thing. A Ouija board does not permit physical transference, only mental energy. You cannot reincorporate, okay, through a Ouija board. It is not a matter relocation device. You know, but no, the reality of it there, Sagittarius, is that demons themselves are an interesting situation. But the moment they start looking at that, you're looking at power levels of energy. Now, here's the kicker to it. You, as an individual, can generate that same kind of spiritual power. Okay, but it's got to come from the heart. Okay, you've got to keep that in mind. Regarding, just a quick note, guys, regarding Las Vegas, I will not be there this year, but Dave has asked me to make absolutely certain that I've got a year now to get it organized to arrange to be there for next year. Okay, so I'm going to do everything I can to make that one. When you go to close, when you're working with a Ouija board and you're going to close down the session, first of all, you start by thanking them for their time, for their energy. Okay. You take a look at it, you thank them for sharing their time with you. Okay. Wish them farewell or wish them well. And then say goodbye, farewell, something politely to disconnect the call. Okay. That is your safest way to do it. Now, are there ways to safeguard a Ouija, a session with a Ouija board? Yeah, there are. There absolutely are. Oh, that's not a problem. From my standpoint, that's not a problem. But any idea where they're planning on moving it to there, Derek? Not a problem there at all, Sagittarius. You know, the difficult part for me is I'm sitting with this information, and I question sometimes just exactly how one can come up with that until I pieced things together the other day. My other half and I actually spent a lot of time trying to piece it together. And then no, my other half and I have been trying for a long time, but a friend of mine point blank filled in a couple things. Oh, okay. Well, the nice part there, Derek, is a place doesn't have to stay put. Although I will tell you, the longer a place can that an event can stay in one location, the more successful that location and that event is going to be, providing it does now grow itself. And it really does depend on whether or not people are feeling welcome. If the community is welcome, like for instance, I used to run with the SCA, with the Society for Creative Anachronism, and we had an event up in Clinton, BC, that the entire community, they didn't all come out to the event, but they all treated everybody that showed up for it as decent people. The fact that we showed up in medieval garb, they didn't even blink at it. They got into it. They turned the restaurants. They brought in new types of food that were period consistent just to get involved in the event. And the more that you can get people involved in the event, the more effective it's going to be. The funny thing is, Derek, before Parker Brothers Bill took the Ouija board and turned it into a game, it was in use a long time before that. Quite seriously, variations on it were in use centuries before Hasbro and before what was it? Before Parker Brothers was ever even a remote consideration. We're talking about way before gaming companies came into existence, which, by the way, means we're looking at more than 400 years. Because the oldest gaming company I've ever heard of, okay, the oldest overall gaming company where they focused on making toys and making games for kids or for adults for that matter. Okay, that was about 400 years ago. I don't, in all fairness, some of them may have been. I don't have any way of answering that one. Yeah, and I realize you didn't exactly ask that, Derek. But, from my standpoint, I always look at people that are playing around with this kind of thing going, have you considered the consequences of what you're working with? And most of the time, the answer is no. Turning the Ouija board into a game would be kind of along the same lines as taking nitroglycerin and turning it into a toy. You know, I mean, this is just a bad idea right from the get-go. But again, like I said, when it comes to the idea of explicit dreams, the more senses you can involve in a dream, the more likely that dream is to come to fruition. And in this case, I'm referring to, for me personally, I'm building, and yes, I'm going to use the term, I'm building an empire. Okay, I am going to take this, if I don't die permanently first, that is, I'm going to turn around. I will have an active recovery center. I will have a newsletter coming out. I've got multiple books coming out. Okay. And the biggest thing is, I really desire to have people sitting here going, gee, I feel better having listened in on this stream or having seen the wonderful interaction between people. Okay. Okay, that's just a bad idea. And no, in all fairness, Derek, in all fairness, I did not see it come through. Mind you, it's always fun. You know, this is why I give Dave such credit. He keeps so close of an eye on 4 different chat rooms, I think, and manages to get most of them. In my case, if I'm lucky, I catch them. And I've only got 1 chat room I work with. Just 1. Okay. But I will tell you, tattooing a Ouija board on your chest, number 1, it's not functionally usable. Okay, so there's no harm in it. It's just kind of not tattoo. Because you have to, number 1, here's where it becomes useful. This is going to be really twisted, and I'll apologize ahead of time. But a Ouija board tattooed on your chest, because in order for a Ouija board to work, you've got to have it flat, not all bumped and curved in the whole 9 yards, which means the only way that Ouija board becomes useful is after the person dies. At least I hope it's after he dies. You peel the skin off, and now you've got a Ouija board made out of skin. Yes, that is sick, that is twisted, that is right off the rails, but a Ouija board on the person's chest, you're not going to be able to use. Okay. Yeah, from what I gather, he does well, where are we here? Yeah, from what I understand, Christine, he's got 3 or 4 of them, because he's mentioned them coming in off of Twitter, off of Facebook, of course, the YouTube channel, StreamYard, and that's 4. I think he's got a couple of others. Let's see. I'm just going back up here. Yeah, and what do we got here? Sagittarius is saying some are 3. Some of the Ouija boards, when you make them, okay, they will be 3 inches thick, because they used to be carved. And when they started, they used to be literally burnt in to a board. But the idea was, we have a heavy Ouija board. Only a select few people could get at it. It wasn't something that the public could get to. Okay. I am glad the information is helpful to you there, Joe. You know, like I said, this is one of the reasons why I figured, when I had the hiccup, when I ran into the problem with the stream yesterday, that I better get both streams in, because I don't know if my throat's going to hold longer than 2 hours. Sometimes it does, sometimes not so much. The reason it runs longer with Dave is because I'm not the only one doing the talking. And yeah, I realize people have said, bring in StreamYard and bring me on board. I'd love to do a stream with you. The catch there is we're talking technology and me. But when we're looking, you got to remember with, who is that? Oh, Sandra. Yeah, Sandra's just going, I dreamt of Africa last year and it was snowing, which means Kilimanjaro. And recently got a wedding invite to Tanzania out of the blue for October. And going. Never been or ever dreamt of Africa. Nicely done. Now, this is where dreams come in handy. You're given a warning, you're given the insight. And absolutely, I will tell you this. You're going to Tanzania, okay, make certain you get somebody, if you don't have it planned already, get somebody to take you out onto the savannah. Okay. But make sure you go out with the idea of avoiding getting into complications. Okay. But absolutely, it is a trip. I've never physically been there, not this lifetime. But absolutely make the most of it. Like I've been seeing a couple of issues around Kilimanjaro. Okay, one of the big things I saw around Kilimanjaro is we've got a problem with Yellowstone here. And in order to avoid that problem, one of two things has to happen. Either we need 3 or 4 volcanoes around Yellowstone to go off, or, and preferably at independent times, okay, or we need Kilimanjaro itself to go off. In either event, this will release the pressure, enough pressure, that Yellowstone will not be a devastating disaster. And before anybody jumps on it and people start going, oh, these volcanoes are extinct, there is no such thing as an extinct volcano. Okay, the fact it hasn't erupted in 70,000 years does not mean it's extinct. We got to remember, the Earth is roughly 5 billion years old. Okay, 75,000 is nothing to worry about. Uh-oh. Well, that's always entertaining. Well, not necessarily entertaining, but Derek's just saying the largest volcano in the world just cracked open in Indonesia. Okay. Now, is it going into full eruption, or it's just starting to bubble and the caldera is starting to rise? Because I'll tell you, either one is going to be a problem. And I mean, this is one of those things that we got to realize that Esau, who you know as Mother Earth or as Gaia, is ticked. Mankind has been doing an absolutely poor, I was going to say something ruder, but a very poor job of protecting the planet, of taking care of her. Okay, and this is where you guys can come in. And no, I don't mean that you can go out and you can clean up the street and all that, although that wouldn't be a bad idea. I'm referring to the positive energy side of things. I tell you, this neat little thing here, talk about a sidetrack. That was a gift from my other half. But I can pour fridge water into it and leave it there, and it'll keep cool for 2 or 3 days, assuming I don't drink it all. Yeah, Derek's just saying, I believe it just cracked open, which relieves pressure. Yeah, and that would make sense. I remember that song, which is really a scary thought. Sandra's just saying, I kept hearing Toto, Africa, after that dream. Yeah, well, they're like, that's kind of like, it's kind of like hearing other songs just bring to mind what you're going through. Yes, it's a letter opener. It's okay. My knife is somewhere. Where the heck did I put my knife? Oh yeah, it's gotta be behind me. I honestly don't see it offhand. What have we got here? Oh, Nathan's just going, love that alien tech in the cups. I'm not entirely certain. You kind of lost me on that one, to be honest with you, Nathan, so I'm guessing there's a comment earlier. Yeah, in all fairness, Sagittarius, do yourself a favor. Do your best not to succumb to the idea that controlling the dreams is going to help you. What it does is it cripples your ability to rely on the insight the dreams are giving you. Oh, and this is something. Yeah, my other half sent it up to me. Right, it's 32 ounce. It's from and this is talk about a plug that I've got nothing to do with. For those of you that are looking for it, this thing is actually made by Hydro Flask. And I will tell you, I put ice in it, and it will sit for 2 days with ice in it, and the ice won't melt. Which is fantastic from that standpoint. It's an idea in the Sagittarius. Sagittarius just goes, I think they should pile more earth on Kilimanjaro until glaciers form. Just an idea. Well, I will tell you, we keep a lot of people occupied while they try to hike it up there. I'm not certain the idea would work, but it is an interesting move. Somehow I don't think people are going to cotton to that one too much. But hey, what the heck? Put it out there. I've been wrong before. I thought, I was wrong once, I'm absolutely certain of. I thought I was wrong and I wasn't. But the nice part about Kilimanjaro itself, it stands in the middle of nowhere, right? Now, would I ever go mountain climbing on it? Heck, I have trouble climbing stairs. So, no, I'm thinking my going mountain climbing on it is not likely to happen. For those of you that know the Kelowna area, I've been in Kelowna an hour away from Big White. Now, Big White is, as you can well imagine, it's a big mountain. It's also a ski resort. But in 40 years of being in Kelowna, I've never set foot on the mountain. Of course, bad leg, don't ski, don't hike, why go? The nice part about it is, we've got people here from all over the world. I don't know how many different countries. I know of a few. I know we've got people out of the States, Canada, England. There was somebody in here out of Mexico a little while ago, and of course out of Australia, right? I think we had somebody out of France. So we are growing, and right about now, yep, we're still alive. Well, that's just it, Sandra. I got a kick out of it one day. I was talking to somebody because this genius turned around and says, I hate the immigrants that are coming in to steal our jobs. I looked at the guy and I went, do you like picking apples? Well, no, I'd never do it. Then why are you complaining about an immigrant coming in, a transient worker, coming in to work and pick apples? If you don't want to do it, why are you complaining? Okay. That would be like my complaining that I don't get up on stage and sing. Rest assured, there would be a lot more complaints from the audience. The reality of it is, when we take a look at, like, I haven't traveled a whole lot. Well, that's not entirely correct. I've literally traveled the entire breadth of the United States. Now, granted, I traveled the whole thing in a plane. Dad drove us down to California years ago, right? But I actually ended up getting flown down to LA. Then from LA, got flown to Portland, Maine, which was really a weird setup. Okay. And this is why I say and why I tell people when I'm told, we have a land shortage. I'm thinking, fly over the States or Canada. There's a lot of open space. A shortage of land is not what we have. An abundance of greed is. And this is why when I finally decided what I was actually going to do. Okay. Oh, by the way, before anybody asks, am I likely to build a Ouija board just because I choose to? Yes. It is one of those tools I will not be selling. Okay. It's just not going to happen. Because that would be like buying a whole case of dynamite and selling it to a pyromaniac. Okay. Curiosity would be an absolute disaster. As a matter of fact, it already is. Okay. But when you get a dream in your head, okay, and I'm going to shift this into a slightly different venue of dreams. I'm talking about your waking dreams. Okay. When you get an idea in your head of something you desire to accomplish, something you desire to co-create. And I say co-create because I'll virtually guarantee you won't do it completely on your own. Okay. But get as many senses, as much detail involved as you can possibly arrange. Okay. In my case, when I took a look at Inner Voice Enterprises, my company, okay, as a matter of fact, the easiest way to do that is this. If you're striving to get a hold of me, okay, this is the email address that is best. Do I always get to it? No. Okay, sorry, life just doesn't work that way. And if you're looking for information on the books that I've got, you take a look at... Now, of course, you can either go here or just simply look at the video, at the write-up on the box below these videos. Okay, there's a whole list of different books I'm working on that I've got in print. Okay. Now, that's the website that's got most of the information. I will tell you, I'm going to be streamlining things as best I can. Well, I'm certainly not going to argue the point. You take a look, Sagittarius is just saying, Google says Kilimanjaro has slope glaciers. And given the size of Kilimanjaro, that would not be a shock. Because you got to remember, when the wind hits from one side, it's going to cool that side down. And that result, especially in the upper reaches, is going to result in ice. Yeah, those can be trippy. A question for you, Sagittarius. Have you ever had a dream where you were flying around the neighborhood without any form of aerial conveyance? As in no plane, no helicopter, no ultraglide, no wings, no nothing. Like no like glider, nothing. Just you. Kind of doing, if you will, the Superman shtick. Have you ever had a dream where you did that? Oh, I will have to do that. Let me just see here. Because it probably did. Let's see. If we go to there and go into my spam folder. I'm just scanning through to see if I found it. Okay, I'm just looking at this, and I'm not seeing it show. I'm guessing, yeah. Can we try one thought? What do you think, Raven? Not that. That one. I will have to take a further look at it for it after I get done the stream. But I will certainly take a look. But just in case, just in case, I'm going to say thank you ahead of time. But no, the nice part about it is I'm looking at this point in really taking my company into a whole new level. Will I be eventually putting a charity side of it together? Absolutely. But understand, I will never open something called a nonprofit organization, because I'll tell you, right there, you're going to run into problems in my eyes. Well, thank you so much for the update there, Derek. I hope things are traveling well. I will be opening up a charitable side of it. I will be putting a newsletter. I've already started working on that. The newsletter will just be very short, but to start with, but eventually it'll go into a global magazine. This is just one of those things I'm working on top of the books that I've got, on top of the figures I'm painting. It's not like I didn't have enough to do. I do hope the weekend goes really well for you there, Derek. I was actually planning on going until I all of a sudden lost my job at the end of December. And now I'm just looking at it going, in a lot of ways it did me a favor. I was looking at leaving it for a good year and a half before they finally closed the doors on me anyway. But a lot of the information I'm working with, I'm doing my best now to get it on paper because when I go, it goes with me. Derek is just adding, my wife is a good driver. She can drive about 8 hours before requiring a stop break. Yeah, I can't drive. I mean, heck, I get into a plane for an hour and I can't walk properly when I get off the plane. Net result of a bad leg. And of course, my stress level does wonders for me. See, it's neat, Derek. You've got a wife. I told my other half, one day we will be husband and wife, assuming she says yes. But I am never going to encourage her to drive in downtown traffic. Right, never mind across the country. It's not that I like driving a lot. It's just I'm better at it than she ever will be. And no, I'm not good. I'm stacking the deck in my favor. She's blinder than a bat. You know, so I mean, things like a thought like that leads me to this other little thought I had years ago. I want to die peaceably in my sleep, like my like my grandmother did, not screaming in terror like the passengers in her car. But no, when we look at dreams, I've got this dream of a world that is that is more cooperative, if you will. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it so much, Derek. But let me put it this way: a few years ago, I went to into a I went to a UFO conference down in Skagit County. I believe it was the I-20. Dave picked me up in Kelowna. We drove down south of the border and turned west. I think it was the I-20. We got into this little community in the middle of nowhere, and we stopped to go in and get a bite to eat. So we left the car parked and just walked into this little complex. Now the problem was this for me. We got out of sight of the car, and then I lost track of everybody, of all the people that we were traveling with. I'll tell you, my stress level went right through the roof. You know, so do I travel well? No. Sometimes I have to pay a little more for it. As in, I will turn around. I'll turn around and fly where many people will drive. I don't like flying either. Don't get me wrong, but it's less time in transit because I don't relax until I'm in the hotel room, which is why I don't go outside the hotel room much. You know, this issue of really stressing is not good for my health. That wouldn't I honestly don't know. I mean, I got lost. Fortunately, they found me and brought me back to the car, which worked out well. Otherwise, I'd have never made it there. You know, but I mean, you think about it. I've been living in Kelowna now for 14 years. Last year, now Kelowna only has about 130,000 people in it. Last year, I got lost half a dozen times in the downtown core. Oh, my cell phone works great. You know, this little cell phone, it's fabulous. This thing I can set it down on the counter and walk to the other end of the house, and this thing will phone people. Heck, it'll phone people while I'm on the phone. But I came to the conclusion that will I do my best to orchestrate a trip next year to the SOR party? Certainly. Okay, I've got a lot of time to work with it. I don't blame her there, Adam. I was told when I got my license 40 years ago now, I was told then that if I can drive in Kelowna, I can drive anywhere in the world. Now, to back that up, about 30 years ago, I knew a woman that got her driver's license. Okay. Kelowna Highway 97 or Harvey Avenue is a main thoroughfare through the heart of the city. 3 lanes going each direction. This woman, during her practical, drove the wrong way down 97, and they still gave her license. Now, I'm telling you, this is insane. Okay. I don't mind if you make a mistake and turn the wrong way on a one-way street. They can be a little confusing. But the wrong way on a 3-lane highway, I'm thinking there's a problem here. Yeah. Nathan's just going, does that driving saying about Kelowna cover Denver and Atlanta? I don't know. I've never driven in either of those two. Okay. But I swear the people that are getting licenses aren't being taught to drive. Okay, they're being taught, here's a tinfoil rocket. Get in it and drive. Okay. Try and stay out of the way of other vehicles. Derek's asking, what are your guys' thoughts on the underground at Denver Airport? In a nutshell, occupied. Kind of like the airport in the airport area around Edmonton, Alberta. It's occupied. Specifically, who is there at this point, I'm not entirely certain. I've got my suspicions, but I don't have anything concrete to tell you. Okay, there are a lot of underground civilizations and pockets of people that are privy to what's going on around us. Thank you so much there, Sagittarius. The reason I was asking is when you're dreaming of flying with no aerial conveyance, this is more often than not true astral travel. Okay, where you're leaving your body, it sleeps peaceably where it's safe, and you go off and fly around the neighborhood. Okay, so and the thing is, and I've covered this before, you can certainly look back in time. You can bring a memory back to what you went through or to what happened. You cannot go back and affect it. But dreams are a wonderful thing. Yeah. Nathan's just saying, when I get close, security seems to pop out of nowhere. Yeah, no doubt. Oh, Adam's just asking, Keith, what does the spiral shape have to do with anything with... Oh, okay. What does the spiral shape have to do with anything? Buddy of mine mentioned it yesterday. It depends on the spiral, on the direction of the spiral. Okay. If the spiral is running from the center, if it's running counterclockwise, it's bringing something, it's opening a drawway to open a gate for something or someone to come from another realm to this one. Okay, also known as a wormhole. Okay. Now, if it's going the other way, if you're seeing it going clockwise, It's drawing the energy out of the physical world into the spiritual one and providing a conduit back. Now, the thing with the spiral sigil, it's a galactic seal. Okay. And when you've got the two of them together, okay, what you've got is the conduit for travel. Okay. For long distance travel. It is one of the sigils that you'll find on some of the what the heck are they called? Some of the crop circles. You'll see some spiral sigils. And that's what they're for, is they're indicating gateways. Okay. Can they be used? Absolutely. Can they absolutely screw up a computer? Probably more so than you'd like to believe. Yeah, Derek's going crazy, Nathan. I believe there are portals under Denver Airport, not to mention the crazy horse there. You know, I remember that name a long time ago, but the neat part about portals, okay, is it can be put to use. Same idea. The same idea there, and you know, spiral staircases have the same issue. When you've got, because you got to remember something very important here. When you look at Earth, and more to the point, when you look at Sol, as in our sun, it is not a question of it sits here and the planets move around it. Okay. It's a question of the sun is going along like this, and the planets are spiraling along behind it. The solar system is not in a static form. It does not work on a two-dimensional plane. The thing is fully mobile. And this spiraled energy is what I'm referring to. That's what it is representing. Okay. Is that energy flow that is, and you know, electrons are the same thing, or atoms and electrons are the same thing. You take the atom and it's traveling through space this way, and the electrons are coming behind it. See, now this little form here, when I've got the three fingers, okay, this is actually, from a scientific standpoint, this would be a lithium atom when you're doing this. Okay, as in hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium. Okay, now I find it fascinating. When I was in high school in grade 8, we had to remember and we had to memorize the periodic table of elements. Well, more to the point, we had to memorize the first 20. Now apparently they don't do that at all. And when I asked the teacher about it, he's like, "Well, it's not important." He asked the students, and they're going, "But it's the backbone of what we do." Um, you know, I run into an interesting snag there. You know, I will tell you this. When you, and this is to you, Sagittarius, when it all goes down, the elite and the so-called elite are the ones that are going to have the biggest problem coping. And I know this for an absolute certainty because we had an interesting situation here 20 years ago. We had a fire in Kelowna. Okay. A third of the population got evacuated. But the people that were claiming that were held to be the wealthy, were held to be in better shape, were almost 100% lost as to how to cope. The people that were the poor people, the working poor, the people that were struggling, pitched together without even thinking about it. I remember one event where somebody was leaving an area that was on fire. Okay, their car broke down in the middle of it, and they ended up off to the side of the road. 3 vehicles, all of them from the poor end, from the farming areas. 3 of the vehicles pulled over, rapidly grabbed all the gear, loaded onto 3 vehicles, and split the family between the 3 vehicles so everybody could get out of town. Funny thing there, I don't know if you're aware of just how right you are there, Derek. You know, Derek's saying they have underground cities all over the U.S. and underground rail systems, advanced rail systems that go big city to big city. They do. Okay. What you got to remember, though, is they're not necessarily as available as you might think. Okay. The people that put them in there is no question there is advanced technology. You got to remember, mankind releases computer information. The computers you see on the market are 6 months behind schedule and behind. They're already 6 months out of date by the time they get released. You know, the other thing that you got to remember is there is more under the earth of this planet than there is on the surface of it. Okay, and what we have to remember as not just as a species, but as co-denizens of this planet, is that it really does work and boil down to we have to work together. Funny part is they're not the biggest investors in that. You know, Derek is going, Skunkworks and Lockheed Martin are doing a lot of black projects for the shadow government. What you may not realize is there are a lot more independent developers that are doing things way beyond what Lockheed and what Skunkworks are doing. You know, there is a staggering amount of information that is out there. And no, do I have some sort of link to the government? Probably. They know where I am. You know, and the nice part about it, and this is why I keep telling people, everybody, so many say the elite are responsible for this, the government is responsible for this, the aliens are responsible for. I'm telling you, people have more ability to make things happen in a positive fashion than you guys give yourself credit for. Dogface, glad you can make it. Now, I just noticed something. We are hitting the 2-hour mark, and that is not a surprise given the way my throat feels. But that said, if you guys like the stream, absolutely do me a favor and do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and then share the daylights out of it. I will be back again. I'm not expecting any sidetracks at this point, but Lord knows what's going to happen. Hopefully, before the end of this week, I'll actually have my AI sorted out. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.